All right, for more on what happened in court, we are now joined by our reporter, Chriselda Lewis. Chriselda, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Of course, a great deal of time was spent on the media. You know, the court was supposed to start at 10. It started at 11. Talk to us about what the main arguments were for this 1010 production company.
Well, absolutely, Unati. Massive delays here this morning. We were expecting the cross-examination of the forensic detective Thabo Mosia to get underway when court started this morning. That certainly did not happen. We got wind of lawyers representing 1010 Films that they were in court this morning, that they wanted to argue against opposition of their presence inside court. You remember that 1010 Films was responsible. They have an agreement with Netflix. Recall, just a few days before the trial had started, there was a documentary that was flighted on Netflix where several persons had been interviewed, including Senzo Meyiwa's mother, some sports commentators here in South Africa, as well as other individuals. What we heard in court here today was that Advocate Tifo Malisela, who you would know represents 4 of the accused in this matter, basically arguing that I guess it would be suspect why the documentary had been flighted just a few days before the trial was due to begin, essentially saying that Netflix, through, of course, 1010 Films, was basically cashing in on the plight of the Meyiwa family. So the argument essentially was that you would recall that since the start of this trial, Advocate Tifo Malisela also mentioning it here in court today, there's concern around the safety of witnesses, the threatening of witnesses, he says, including himself as one of the defense lawyers in this matter. He basically said that it was suspect, number one, why the documentary had been aired just a few days before, and essentially perhaps, you know, to try and get South Africans in this particular instance to comment on a matter that is still before the courts at this particular stage. We also saw the legal representative of 1010 Films here in court saying they felt that they were being prejudiced in this matter, in the fact that they considered themselves to be able, they made an application to be able to be inside court. The argument on the other hand from Advocate Tifo Malisela is that this is not a media house. That was the core argument that was put across in this matter. But you had the lawyers representing this production company saying they did not believe that they'd done anything wrong by airing the documentary slightly before the trial itself had begun, and also that if there was any interruption to the carrying out of justice, if I may, that is an issue that needed to be ventilated on another platform. For example, a case needed to be opened if they were found to be in contempt of court. But in this instance, they believe that their clients have done nothing wrong and that they felt that they had the right to be here. So in the clip that you just played as well, that was the ruling, of course, essentially the presiding judge saying that on the part of Advocate Tifo Malisela, Malisela Tifo, I beg your pardon, as well as the state, that no evidence or facts have been brought forward to allow for him to kick the 1010 Films, which is obviously coming through Netflix, in order for them to be kicked out of court. There was no basis for that, essentially, is what the judge in this particular matter has found.
Chriselda, of course, you know, just also for the benefit of our, viewers, this case is obviously long in the making. On the stand today, of course, he's coming back tomorrow, was Sergeant Thabo Mosia. Just give us a little bit of a background, who he is, why his testimony is so important, and of course, he had started testifying today, but that's now been postponed until tomorrow, correct?
Well, that's right. Not much of a cross-examination this afternoon. We had about 45 minutes after that ruling by the judge presiding in this matter. In that 45 minutes, essentially, the cross-examination had begun. Advocate Tifo Malisela basically indicating, asking him about the crime scene, whether he believed that the crime scene itself had been contaminated. You recall, at the last sitting, he had basically said he does not believe that the crime scene scene had been contaminated. Basically, the defense asking whether he stands by that assertion. The detective basically saying that he stands by that assertion. When he arrived at the crime scene, there was no reason for him to believe that the crime scene itself had been contaminated. He was also asked about an affidavit that he deposed of in June 2019. So this is about 4 years and 4 months after Senzo Meyiwa had been killed, basically asking whether he had deposed of that affidavit under duress or whether he had deposed of it by his own free will. He replied by saying by his own free will. The assertion certainly being made by the defense at this particular point that he perhaps may have been coerced into saying certain things in that affidavit. Well, we're just about to get Unati to him reading that affidavit here in court, where a decision was then made, and perhaps we should adjourn until tomorrow. Tomorrow he will go through that affidavit. We'll hear what exactly that affidavit says and what the defense believes in there is not, or what duress may have come out from that, because they're certainly saying that the affidavit which we're currently speaking of, which was deposed of in June 2019, was 4 years and some 4 months, according to Advocate Tifo, 4 years and 4 months after Senzo Meyiwa had been killed.
Chriselda, let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for that update. Chriselda Lewis there for us.